Which type of restaurant do you have? Chaotic or organized? Welcome back to The Restaurant Within. I'm Neal. This is Christina. We're going to be talking to you about some things today that are related to the organization of restaurants and how it impacts how they operate. We both have been running restaurants almost all of our adult lives, and Christina's done some awesome stuff since I've been working with her for probably the last 6 or 7 years or so. She's been an awesome operator for us and has volunteered to join me in my journey of podcasts. So welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you for
So
having me.
anytime, anytime. Looking forward to seeing how this goes because she and I talk about restaurants an awful lot. I think I've messed up more than I've gotten right, but I've gotten some of them really, really right. And the whole journey has been something else. So I love to share it as much as I can. Why a manager's life is chaotic. There's a lot of things that go into the lifestyle of a manager. A lot of it has to do with the way they see the business. I've known a lot of restaurant managers that have to act like it's chaotic, whether it's chaotic or not. Time management is a big part of why managers struggle to stay composed and keep a restaurant in order. The disorganization of restaurants can make an awful lot of difference because whether it's your product, your training material, your office, oftentimes you can go into a manager's office and tell whether the restaurant's organized or not. If it takes a long time to do everything you do in your own office, then you're going to find yourself to be very inefficient. That's how you get all those managers that say they're working 100 hours a week. They're probably still only getting 3 things done. It's a lot slower when you can't put your hands on everything that you want to put your hands on. You can become overloaded pretty fast if you don't have your stuff together. And that makes a big difference as far as what your life is like. Trying to do it all yourself, that's not a good way to manage at all because not only do the people under you not learn, which for me is where my passion lies because I love to see people grow. And so they can't grow. If you've got them in a bottle and that's all they're doing is busting tables and waiting on tables, ringing up food, they're in a bottle, they can't grow. And it makes it harder on you. Everybody expects competence from that general manager and from the management team, but especially the general manager because they're always the teacher. Oftentimes you find people having trouble because their life at home is chaotic. And that follows them to work, whether it's coming to work on time or being ready to do the job.
I think that restaurants have moments where you can feel like it's chaotic and you can also feel like it's organized. You might have stages where you are in the middle, you're trying to get it together. What systems are not in place? What are we not doing?
In that time where the restaurant's not running well, and it always traces back to some level of organization, whether it be in the scheduling process, whether it be in the training process, you can almost always go back to some level of organization. It's like, I guess you got to look at it backwards. How do you feel when you go into a restaurant and it has been chaotic and you turn it into one that's organized and achieving a lot? Like you've had restaurants that have achieved stuff that none of us have had to do.
Yes.
How does that feel when you get there? And for everybody else to be able to get to that level of execution, you either have to be able to teach them every single thought that's in your head, which is impossible, or you have to be able to organize a restaurant so that they know how to function in it even when you're not there. The trouble for me has always been on the other side of the token. It has been who is willing to do the heavy lifting to get to a place where it's smooth all the time. And don't get me wrong, like you're never going to have a perfect day in a restaurant business. You're really all the time working on a mentality. You're working on a resiliency,
Correct.
right?
Right.
Knowing that that is what we're trying to craft into the people that work for us, all of the other things that we do is to keep the distractions out of the way. You don't want to have to run into the office to get a stapler and have to hunt 45 minutes for it. You don't want to have to suddenly realize at 7 o'clock on Friday night, you don't have any copy paper in the office or you don't have any printer paper for the kitchen. Those are all organizational things.
Correct.
All of those things come with a different plan. It takes a lot of experience to nail it all down because there's some stuff, food related stuff especially, that's got to be first in, first out.
Yes.
It's got to go as fast as we get it. Then there's some other things you don't have to run that close, like printer paper in the kitchen. There's nothing that stops you from keeping a couple of cases on hand so that you know that that's just not one of those things you have to run, go get. Is your office set up to your customization? Is it labeled out? How do you get to where all the managers are in an environment just in that little room alone to where you can function together?
You have organization systems, labels, your filing cabinets, making sure that they know which systems go where do your invoices get filed, where do your schedules get filed, like where do all your important documents go?
The cities that I've been in have always been really strict in fire department category. So all fire inspections and alarm tests. I keep a red binder for that in the office so everybody can get their hands on it. The cities that I've been in been tough as far as grease testing and grease traps. So I keep a red binder in the office for those typically.
I had a binder that I think is really great. You have like if you have an emergency gas shut off, emergency water shut off, where are all your main valves and having pictures and instructions on how to manage all of that.
So what is that, like a diagram or something of the
Yeah.
property?
Yeah. You take a picture of like, so here's your your gas is located here. Here's a picture of it. Yes, a floor chart.
That's
It takes
awesome.
you
I've
to it.
never done that before. I did a video the other day on the number of times a trainee comes into a restaurant to maybe do an interview to start off with, and no managers know that they're even in the building. That's an organizational issue. It's a communication issue, but it's how your communication is organized. The more detailed you are when you do a food order, the more that you keep record of what you had on hand, and then again, record of what you had left when the next truck comes, the more and more accurately that you can make out a food order. That's organization. I have a checklist of things that I do. I have to do them very quickly because what I enjoy is spending the bulk of my time with my top performing people. If you're going to have a great day in the restaurant business, you kind of have to make that decision first thing in the morning. There's nothing perfect about a day in a restaurant, nothing. So having a perfect day has more to do with you navigating the things that go on than it does with having a perfect day. And your general manager, their composure lends itself to whether or not you panic or whether or not you have it together, if there's control, right?
Right.
Let's say you've got all of your backup products. You've got first aid, you've got chemicals, you've got small wares, you've got supplies. Do you have a schedule that you order those? How often do
Yeah.
you do that? Who does that stuff?
Well, that's putting the system in place. We do all of our ordering at the end of the period. That way it's organized, and that way we know it's once a month. We know it's within our budget. We know what our sales trends are supposed to be so we can match our ordering to what our P&L is going to say. That's usually once a period. Truck orders, that goes based on when you get your truck delivery. When is your deadline for your truck due? Having that done, having a system behind that.
That's what makes it go, right?
Yeah.
I was thinking about discipline as it relates to organization.
Okay.
Once you get things in the best places they can be, right? Because you may have it like you want it and run it to anybody any day that's got a better idea. Then it's down to discipline. I'm a nut and I'll label the office down and put labels all over the place. People think I'm insane, but it tells everybody where everything goes in the office.
Yes,
And there's
definitely.
always going to be that one manager that can't find that label that says stapler.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, you're going to find that stapler out in the kitchen somewhere, and it takes you an hour to find it. Exactly what you don't want when you go into the office. Discipline is a part of the organizational part. I bet I've worked with less than maybe a dozen people in my whole career that will take the time out to get in an isolated place and think about, okay, from 11 to 2 and from 6 to 9, I know I'm going to be on shift. I've either got to be in the dining room or on the line. At all other times that we are open, I can get other things done and check in my area. Before we open and after we close with no guests in the building, I have a different time allowance. Now it's a matter of how fast do I want to do the things that I'm doing, because I can leave as early as I want to, or I can stay for an hour. Once there's no guests in the restaurant, I don't have to rush anymore. But I've run into very few managers in my career that'll take the time out to plan for a day, for a week, for a period, even for a career.
Correct.
I mean, I did interviews for almost 15 or 20 years. I used to ask employees all the time, tell me, what would a perfect manager attributes be? Maybe one person in 100 had any idea of what they were even looking. Most of them answered the question with, I don't know. When you leave one because of this one person that you didn't like, well, there's 100 people working in that building. And guess what happens when you go to the restaurant next door? There's going to be one in there you don't like too. What do you do then? You leave there and go to the next one. There's going to be one in there you don't like too. At some point in time, you've got to get inside of your own bubble and do your thing the best way. You know how. And when you get to a happy place doing that's when you're going to affect most of the people the right way that you're trying to affect. I had this conversation with a manager the other day. You just don't want to behave in the way that the business dictates that you should behave. You should make a decision when you're at home that you want to treat people well, have a great day, be courteous to people, and don't change it for anything. And the manager said, well, what do you do when people are doing things wrong? So that's not a problem. That's not your issue. All I'm saying is this: have the conversation with the employee if they're doing something wrong.
Right.
Let them know there's something that you've got to have done. I can't make them do it. I'm not going to. I'm not even going to try to.
We don't manage the people. We manage the behaviors,
That's
the
it.
systems,
That's
the
all.
standards.
And I need these things done. You don't want to do them. That's not a big deal. I just want you to be aware that I have to hire somebody.
Correct. Yep.
There's a way to walk right through that without being ugly.
Correct.
That helps a lot to keep the energy right in the restaurant. That would bring me to number 4, which is managing priorities. Because to me, the priority is the attitude of the building. That might be number 1 for me, above and beyond almost everything. Don't think I'm not thinking about a budget in the back of my head. Don't think that I don't have the owner's best interest at heart. They're the ones paying me. But it's just like a server waiting on tables. Should a customer feel 10 steps of service? No, the server should just be going through those. That's the way a GM should apply themselves to a restaurant, right?
Correct.
When I get to a place where everybody in the building is giving me their best effort or even on that path, I'm going to have a restaurant that dominates everything in the neighborhood. I've never met anybody that wasn't smart enough to do any of the jobs that we want done in the restaurant business. The challenge has been getting them to commit to it.
Motivation.
Yeah, because everybody tends to make excuses on why they shouldn't have to try hard today. For 99% of the people on this planet, they'll never know what they could have done because they've never given 100% to anything. Every time they get overlooked or somebody gets promoted past them, they bring up, well, you got to be related to somebody around here to get promoted. Oh, you got to kiss the manager's butt to get a raise around here. The bottom line is, if you give a restaurant 100%, everyone I've ever worked for will do the right things for you and promote you.
Do your job, manage your priorities. That's exactly right.
We shoot to do evaluations twice a year. I can't say I'm perfect at it, but I can say I'm aware of when they come and I know when they definitely need to be done. I try to stay on the good side of doing it twice a year because I know everybody wants to be recognized for what they're doing well. I definitely go after those when it's time to give somebody money. And it's time to give somebody money when those numbers start rolling the right way, right?
Correct.
And the results start coming in.
Yes. I think staying on top of knowing your employees and knowing your team and knowing their strengths and their weaknesses, it makes it easier when it comes to time to do your evaluations because then you're not having to take 6 months worth of information and try to put it all together. You know your people, you know your team, and I think that makes it easier to get those done so that people are getting the feedback.
Yeah.
And it does make them better.
For sure. I'll tell you what I've always thought people do upside down. When it comes to evaluations, you always hear managers put their faults in the evaluation. These are the things you're not doing well. I've gotten more good out of rating the consistency of which somebody does something well for me. I'm looking at the things that they are more likely to be passionate about.
Yes.
How much do they come in and give me 110 on that topic? Because now we're off a whole different conversation. We're not talking about something they don't have an interest in or something they're not doing well. We're talking about the strength of what they do for our business. I would make that the number one priority of every evaluation that I have. Look, I know I've got these 2 or 3 things you don't like to do. You can't get blood out of a turnip. Right. And we've got a big team. We'll put somebody on that's got it. But these things you do know how to do. Are you doing those things 8 days out of 10, 9 days out of 10, or can you truly deliver that every day?
Correct.
And now we're getting to something that I think can be fun and do the business a world of good because now I'm talking about something that they're typically passionate about doing well. The other thing is keeping notes. I use my phones to keep up with like passwords, usernames, stuff I have to have with me all the time. I use my laptop to keep up with kind of files on different units. I use my calendar. As soon as we set up the show, I send an invite on my calendar because that's what I live by.
Yes, I'm the same way. I have to have my calendar.
And on your phone?
Yes.
You use the one on the phone?
Yes, and I do it for everything. So every reminders, anything, because I think it's a great tool for sure.
Are you a laptop worker?
I like the desktop.
Desktop?
Yep.
What about iPads? No?
Nope.
I'm not much on iPads. They're good for playing games when I don't have anything to do. The other thing is shift change info, not knowing who's coming into shifts because of a policy. Unfortunately, in the restaurant business, we've gotten to where one of the benefits of working in the restaurant industry is that almost any shift can be subbed out almost any time by anybody, anywhere. I'm not so sure that's a smart thing that we have in the industry because it does damage a lot of shifts and it takes the managers out of control of putting the aces in their places.
Correct.
But how many times have you walked in on a shift when manager said, oh, Johnny was supposed to be here at 5, but didn't show up. And Jimmy didn't know that we approved the sub out. So he's not here either. I'm shorthanded.
Yeah. I just recently went through that for about 2 months straight from lack of organization, systems, communication, and all those things happen.
How do you make a 6-month manager aware that you have done that 19 million times?
Yeah, that's the challenge. From recent experience, let him fail a couple times.
Oh, God, that's torture.
From recent experience, that was how one person learned. But you can't let that happen so many times because you have your team member.
Yeah, it burns everybody.
Yeah, correct. You got to have a system in place. What is the standard for call outs? What is the accountability? What does that look like on following up? Because if you don't have any of those in place and have those clear communications between you and your management team, then those things are going to continue to happen.
That tortures me so bad. I walk into a shift and they're short 3 people because, oops, somebody subbed out a shift at 10 o'clock this morning for an 11 o'clock shift. For everybody in the world that hadn't already been through this 19 gajillion times, let me explain something to you. If a shift is scheduled at 10:45 a.m. and a manager approves a sub out at 10:44 and none of those people are in the restaurant, The same thing happens every time. The person who was supposed to come to work today somehow magically always gets the notification. Somehow the one that was supposed to cover for them magically never gets the notification. The restaurant ends up short every time. Allowing sub outs within 24 hours of a shift really should just be for emergencies only. If both people are standing in the restaurant at 10:45 or 10:30 and they want to swap shifts, okay, no big deal. That's easy to kill, right? And you're on the shift. The other thing that's tough is I've already printed rosters. I printed them up at 7 o'clock this morning, and then I get to my shift and 5 different people show up.
Yeah, no. I think that if it's within 24 hours, both employees should be spoken to ensure that the shift is covered.
Do you think they'll ever let restaurant managers have medication just for those situations?
No.
Dang, that I need sometimes, because when I see that, it drives me absolute batty. Another piece of the organizational ladder is the weekly manager meeting. Now, I know you're a big advocate of weekly meetings. How you get ready for them? Where does your information come from? Do you have a kind of a form that you go by that allows you to know you're touching on all the things? And do your managers that are off have to come in for that meeting?
They don't have to come in if they're off. They do have to follow up with the notes. I do follow up with them on the first shift that they work for the week to make sure that they got all the information. I take the notes from throughout the week. Is there been anything major? Anything comes up? We have new installations coming up with hardware, different things like that. Key things from the week, anything that we had to follow up with from the week before. What did we get? What did we miss? A lot of my information comes from the prior week's agenda and then events that came up throughout the week and then any new information given to us.
You ever fake panic?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes
Yeah,
I'll
for
get
sure.
I'll get a manager that's in second place in a contest or something like that, and I'll just know that they should be dusting somebody off, and then I'll go in and say, "Man, you had it. You could have done this. You could have done that. You could have done it." Da, 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 da. The intent is about pushing them to number one. I don't know anybody that wants to suck at their jobs. You want to push people and challenge people, and I get taken different ways. A lot of people know that I have no ill intentions when I'm pushing. Lord knows I can bark, I can whine, I can growl, I can bring whatever emotion is that day that I need, right? They usually know how I'm coming at them. And we talked about inventory organization a little bit, prep and production systems. That's a big one because it has to do with food safety. Being organized about what you have on hand, what you use. Do you have any advice with those type systems that would help other people to nail down the prep production cycle?
Definitely making sure you have your prep sheets. Does your team know the pan sizes? Do they know the product? Looking at your sales mix, your product mix. What are you selling this week versus last week? Do you have new information coming in? Do you have new food coming in? Is a menu changing? I think all of that goes into your prep sheets.
Dates on everything.
Yes.
I mean, it is so hard to make out a prep list. When you're back there looking at something, it's got onions in it. There's no label on it, but the onions are clear. It's got to go in the trash. Having everything dated is not just huge from an organizational point of view, it's huge from a safety point of view. First in, first out. The last restaurant I had to run didn't have a freezer. Everything had to come and go. Labor planning. That's another one that I'm going to throw a curveball or two at. When you're planning labor, you're planning labor to grow. You're not planning labor to survive. You have to have a good organized game plan between the managers and the staff members on how every position of the restaurant's going to run and who's going to fill every position at what times of day. If you get into a side project or something like that between 2 and 5, that's why you got to dip back into the dining room from time to time and just see what's going on, because you have to know that your coverage is doing a good enough job to grow sales. Trainer meeting and communication. Trainer meetings is one of those things where I always want my trainers to tell me what they think our biggest obstacles are. Because when you make policy adjustments and they're aligned with what their challenges are, that's huge. When you come into a restaurant and you just start throwing policies around because they're things you want to do, you're going to find a lot of pushback. Organizing the training and making sure that all your trainers know when they're going to be training. They know what time your trainees are going to be there. They know what they're covering on the days that those trainees are there. They know to a level of precision, what am I going to show the trainee and what am I expecting the trainee to show me, so that all week long we're gradually working towards an independent person. You got 100 people working in the building. Some are having good days. Some are having bad days. You have a management team that's supposed to be linked into those people. You're supposed to be linked into the management team. Follow-up systems. The more experience that you have, the better you should be. All of it takes follow-up. The ordering system, inventory system, does it take anything unusual to keep up with all of that stuff? Or is that just something that falls into your weekly manager meeting notes and goes in your notepad?
Yeah, for me, I have my manager checklist for Monday. So every Monday, I go through my manager checklist, which tells me to validate inventory, check payroll, check sales. Every week, I go through and I check all my systems and I follow up with my managers. If something wasn't where it needed to be, I have my go to on Monday, my one and all checklist.
The eternal message that I have is that we can all do better.
Yes.
The longer that people are with me, the more they know that that's the way that today's operation is going to be. But for newer people, it takes a little bit more because you want to ease into an eternal growth process without getting into a criticism process. If you can shine some light on their expertise that they had before coming to you, even if you got to reach all the way down to high school, but make them
Right.
feel good about something they know. Because when you come into the restaurant business, it's a beatdown of people wanting you to know what they know. Every trainer, every employee, every manager wants that trainee to know their pet peeves and their skill level. You have to train that whole team that is completely upside down because they're at ease. They are used to the environment. Things are already going their way. They're a
Right.
trainer or a manager. That trainee is completely out of place. What we need to do is listen to what they've done well, things they enjoy doing. How can we help to expand upon the things they want to do? That can make a huge difference. You go 3 weeks down the road and they're still feeling like they have to ask everybody everything and that everything is life or death. That is really bad signs. If your trainee's acting like that after they've been there for 3 weeks, either you hired the wrong person or the training process was not ideal.
Exactly.
With 100 people working for you, that's tough to sometimes get. Email and text management. Do y'all have any policies on, is there times you can't text or email, or do y'all communicate by email or hot schedules?
We have teams that we communicate for on the fly things, emergencies, quick call outs, and things like that. But we also log our call outs and all of our attendance issues as well in our 365 system that we use.
I'm wondering so y'all don't use communication hot schedules at all?
Oh, we do. Yes,
You do?
yes, yes, yes. So from the managers to the team members, that's the communication that they use straight to their team.
Okay.
100%. I don't like texting.
No texting.
I don't like texting.
Let's say you open up in the morning time, there's 10 things that were left undone from the night before. There's always criticism from one shift to the next. Every restaurant, every time.
Right.
Where does that information go? How do you stay on track with 6 different managers know that we're not cleaning this corner out well every night, or we're not cleaning these walls off every night, or the
So for
routine's not there?
that goes into teams. That way it can be tracked and I can monitor it. So if I have the same manager that missed the same opportunity 3 times this week, then I can go back and look and be like, okay, they missed this, this, and this. If it's the same thing, then I can follow up. Everybody can put the information in there and then I can put it directly between the manager checking it and with myself.
Right.
So if I'm the manager opening, I'm going to send a message to the GM and to the manager closing.
Yeah. So then we get into routine maintenance, right? Air conditioner stuff, coils, filters, drains, belts for hoods. That's a whole nother organizational piece that either A, you've got a PM maintenance contract, but you also have to be careful because a lot of those arrangements are set up where they send you a bill every month and then you get used to that and you stop looking at your own coils. And then 2 years later, you look at a coil and you realize it hadn't been cleaned in a year and a half and you've been sending them checks the whole time. I'm lucky I have better help than that right now, but I've been bit by that before. Do you do the PM maintenance contracts or you do
We do. We have it with a local company.
Okay.
We follow up and we like to inspect everything that he does just to make sure that he does what he's supposed to do. Because in the same thing, I've had people come out and filters supposed to be changed, but they haven't been changed out in months.
Here's another big one when it comes to organization, creating accountability, because eternally you're going to hear when you're working with a management team, well, this manager don't do it like you do. I don't know if it's even humanly possible to make 6 people perfectly identical. I do believe they should be on the pathway to getting as close to identical as they can be. The managers are never going to be perfect, but they have to work towards perfect,
Right.
right? But you've always got that one manager that's jumping the gun that wants to put write-ups or threaten somebody's job or do ugly stuff when the other 5 managers are not in the same mindset. And so the staff says, look, it ain't this policy that's the issue, it's this manager. Is it just time with that group gelling, or you hold them accountable for the rule books?
I think
Look,
that's where you have to have your systems in place. That goes back into ensuring that you make the standards clear with each manager and then having the right systems in place to follow up with the managers daily, having the daily checklist.
there's being late, there's theft, there's insubordination, there's job performance. I mean, it just goes on and on. I think companies running into trouble trying to even define all of it sometimes and what it means.
Right.
I don't know if I've ever been in a building where 6 managers would call down every one of those policies the same way. You can't let employees off the hook with everything because you're not consistent, which is what they throw at you all the time. That's another major piece of the organizational thing. I think the managers have got to be smart enough to be able to see it.
Correct. A team is always going to be evolving. The managers typically aren't. You usually have a pretty consistent management team.
Yeah.
So if there's issues, then it's usually looking back to the managers and following up with them.
Yes, if I'm a manager in a unit, I don't have to be a GM to know that, look, maybe the GM's walking through the dining room on their phone. If they are, and the policy is no phones, you can't turn around and write up an employee or threaten their job because all of a sudden an employee's doing the same thing when you're doing something and you're
Double
trying to,
standard.
yeah, I
There can't
mean,
be double standard. Ours is
yeah, I
standard.
think if you're the manager on duty and you know that y'all aren't as a group great at this policy, it's one thing if everybody's early every day, 100% of the time. Then somebody's a little bit late. Okay, come here, let's see what happens. But if you've been tolerating it for the last month, but today you're just tired of it, well, that's not good.
Mm.
That cannot regulate the stiffness of the policy. The best thing you can do is take a break and stop for a minute, because if you've been allowing it for months and now you're all of a sudden getting tired of it, that's a good thing that you're ready to change the policy. It's a shame you got there, but if you're ready to change it, then there's a way to do that. You get that group together. Here's the date and the time that the policy changes. All the managers march to the beat of that drum. But again, you're back to discipline. How many of them are going to march to the beat of that drum? Because what I've found is there's always those 1 or 2 nice managers in the group that, even though you're trying to change the standard and you've got these things you want to do, these 2 nice managers pull people aside and try to make sure they don't do it again because they don't want to be the ones that people don't like. And that's the wrecking ball for the system. You'll end up with people that are so nice they get ran over. And then you run into this other group of people that are so mean that nobody wants to work with them. The diamond in the rough is that person that's able to say, I want the highest standards possible, and I'm going to deliver the technique that makes people feel good about how we get there.
Right. Yeah.
That you don't find.
Correct. Yeah.
That's a big piece of creating accountability, because accountability don't have to be nasty.
Right.
Accountability just got to be a standard. And organization as a leadership skill, I don't think you're accidentally organized. That's either the way you are or it's the way you're not.
Correct.
In manager offices, about 10 years ago, I quit putting manager mailboxes in the offices. If they have them, it'll be because I'm not working in that office and they can do anything they want to. But for me, I quit having them because 99.9% of the time, a manager's mailbox turns into a bird's nest.
Correct.
Just eliminated them. Y'all keep your stuff to yourself and give me what I need. Then number 20 on my list was HR, because there are a lot of HR topics that probably should be a whole nother video as it relates to hiring, training, developing, pushing. The real cost of disorganization is turnover. Turnover relates to 2 major pieces in the restaurant business. One is the chaotic shifts, right? And the other one is money.
Yep.
If you bring in too many servers, they're not going to make the money that they want to make. If you don't bring in enough, then they're overwhelmed, and there's a whole nother illness that floats through the service team. Having an absolutely perfect number of cooks in service every shift is almost non-existent too. You're almost always going to be at least a little bit over or short. The team has got to used to running the audibles, running the different shifts that you have to run to make it happen. Winning restaurants are usually boringly consistent. The number one thing that people hate to do is the same thing day after day. Unfortunately, the signature of a mastered restaurant is one that does the same thing day after day after day. That's a challenge in human behavior that has to be taught. But that was basically the notes that I had on the organizational podcast. Did you have anything else that you wanted to add?
No, I don't have anything else to add. Thank
All right,
you.
awesome. Well, thank you for being on with me, and look forward to having you back.
Thank you.
Thanks.